and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison LaGrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Moscow says India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S.J. Shankar, will meet his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, on the 21st of August to discuss key aspects of cooperation within international frameworks. Iran says it will continue to back Lebanon even as Beirut orders its army to devise a plan to disarm the Tehran-backed group Hezbollah. Germany says it aims to secure 8,300 drone systems by the end of the decade as the NATO countries place unmanned drones at the center of their military modernization plans. South Africa calls the US report on human rights situation in the country deeply flawed, says it fails to reflect the reality of Pretoria's constitutional democracy. And Australia hails breakthrough in efforts to sign a security agreement with Vanuatu, a deal that could dilute China's influence in the Pacific island nation. Hello and welcome. Days before his Alaska meeting with the US President Donald Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin has dialed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. A call that points out how Moscow's wartime defense partnerships are shaping up the summit. Now, North Korean state media claimed Putin and Kim spoke in a warm and camaraderie atmosphere, and the Russian president thanked North Korea for its military support in the ongoing war in Ukraine. Now, Putin praised what he called the bravery and self-sacrifice of North Korean forces, who helped retake parts of the Kursk region after a brief Ukrainian incursion last year. Pyongyang reaffirmed full support for Russia's war and pledged to back any future measures taken by the Kremlin. In recent days, Russian President Putin has also spoken with the leaders of China, Belarus, and India, and has briefed each of them on Ukraine war. But the growing Russia-North Korea partnership, sealed last year with a mutual defense pact, has become a key part of Moscow's strategy as it faces Western sanctions and human power shortages. North Korea, apart from Iran, has been Russia's critical security partner as the war in Ukraine rages on. Pyongyang has sent thousands of troops to Russia's Kursk region, along with missiles, artillery, shells, and workers, according to South Korean and Western intelligence. Now, hundreds of North Korean soldiers are reportedly killed, and more deployments are believed to be planned. Even as North Korea and Russia flex their no-holds-barred defense partnership, all eyes remain on Alaska, where President Putin is scheduled to meet with Donald Trump. Trump has called it a feel-out meeting to assess Moscow's readiness for peace. But Ukraine is not part of the talks. The White House has billed the Alaska summit as a quote-unquote listening exercise for Donald Trump.
Optimistic that a deal will emerge from this meeting, or is he simply going to listen?
I think this is a listening exercise for the president. Look, only one party that's involved in this war is going to be present. And so this is for the president to go and to get, again, a more firm and better understanding of how we can hopefully bring this war to an end.
Ukraine's President Zelensky has ruled out giving up territory and insists on a ceasefire as a first step. European allies back Kiev's position and remain cautious about any deal that excludes Ukraine. With Moscow's wartime alliances deepening and global diplomacy in motion, the Putin-Trump meeting in Alaska now carries extra weight. While Russia builds its defense pacts from Pyongyang to Beijing, questions remain on whether this summit will open a path to peace or signal a new era of geopolitical rivalries. And moving on to rising tensions between the US and China. The two were recently at loggerheads in the West Philippine Sea, the waters off the Philippines that Beijing claims is a part of the South China Sea. China claims it allegedly warned and drove away an American destroyer sailing near the disputed Scarborough Shoal. The Chinese Defense Ministry said the American warship, the USS Higgins, illegally entered China's territorial waters off the Huanggang Island. The guided missile destroyer is deployed with the US 7th Fleet that is based in Japan. And the Huanggang Island is the name that China uses for the Scarborough Shoal. It is a disputed region claimed by both China and the Philippines. Now, China accused the US military of infringing on its sovereignty. Beijing accused Washington of violating international laws. It added that America's actions undermine peace and stability in the South China Sea. The US has denied claims by China. The 7th Fleet said that the warship was conducting a freedom of navigation operation. Washington accused Beijing of issuing a false statement. It added that the US is defending its right to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, and that the Chinese statements would not deter them. Now, this marked the first known US military operation in the disputed South China Sea in at least 6 years. It also comes at a time when both the US and China are locked in a trade spat. Now, this is over Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on Chinese imports. As the tensions soared, China even warned that it was prepared for any other type of war with the US. Now, the latest rift in the disputed South China Sea came a day after the Philippines accused Chinese vessels of dangerous maneuvers. This as a Chinese warship chasing a Filipino patrol boat crashed into one of its Coast Guard vessels. High tension, simmering standoffs and clashes are not new to the South China Sea. The region witnesses frequent skirmishes between the Chinese and Filipino navies. The tensions have escalated to a point that in May of 2024, the Philippine President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., issued a stern warning. He said if a Filipino citizen dies in the South China Sea due to clashes with the Chinese Coast Guard, it would almost certainly be a red line. He added that it would become very close to what the Philippines defines as an act of war. In May this year, the militaries of the Philippines and the United States conducted joint drills. They sailed together in the South China Sea for a 7th time. This was to boost interoperability between the two sides. Now, the growing closeness between the Philippines and Taiwan has also emerged as a flashpoint with China. Beijing claims almost all of the South China Sea as its own. China has also rejected a 2016 ruling by an international arbitration court that found no legal or historical basis for its claims. This has also triggered territorial disputes with nations like Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei. Beijing's growing aggression in the South China Sea impacts one of the most valuable shipping lanes globally. Now, in 2023, 24% of global maritime trade transited through these waters. An estimated $5.3 trillion worth of commercial goods pass through it annually. The growing conflict in the South China Sea poses a massive risk to the global supply chains. However, the regional players who are allied with the US have more on the line than others. And staying with more updates from Asia, where tensions between neighbours Thailand and Cambodia are still simmering. The Thai army has issued a stern warning, saying that it may have to take action in self-defence. The warning from Thailand followed a harrowing incident. The Thai army said that a landmine detonated, blasting off a patrolling soldier's leg. This near the disputed Prasat Samyuan Thom temple. Now, the blast followed a similar mine explosion over the weekend. The Thai army said the explosion wounded 3 other troops. Thailand has reported 4 such incidents in about a month. The Thai government has accused Cambodia of covertly planting landmines. It added that the repeated incidents show the bad intentions of the Cambodian side. Thailand also accused Cambodia of violating the ceasefire agreement and warned against having to exercise the right to defend itself. Thailand also cited the violation of the Ottawa Convention that prohibits the use of all types of anti-personnel landmines. The Thai army even released a picture showing its military engineer removing an anti-personnel mine, which it claims was planted by Cambodian soldiers. However, Cambodia's defense ministry has rejected Thailand's claims. It has called the Thai accusations baseless, false, and misleading. Cambodia also defended its uncompromised position on the Ottawa Convention. Cambodia said that it has cleared more than 1 million mines and nearly 3 million other unexploded ordnance, which were left for more than 3 decades of war and civil unrest. Thailand and Cambodia have been sparring for decades over disputed holy sites in the border region. Both countries claim the disputed temples as their own. Now, recent incidents have put a fragile truce at risk between the two countries, which witnessed deadly clashes along the border and traded heavy artillery fire for 5 days last month. The bloodbath killed dozens of people on both sides and displaced more than 260,000 residents. It ended with the intervention of US President Donald Trump. The two sides held talks in Malaysia and signed a ceasefire agreement. Both sides allowed observers from the ASEAN regional bloc to inspect the disputed border areas and to help uphold the truce. The Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet even nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize for his alleged extraordinary statesmanship. But now, the Trump-brokered truce is staring at an uncertain future, with the two sides trading barbs and sporadic incidents of violence. Will Thailand and Cambodia be able to exercise restraint, or will the Southeast Asian nations relive their warring history? That remains to be seen. And finally, shifting focus to the immigration crackdown under US President Donald Trump. The bid to shake up America's H-1B visa system has reportedly cleared a big hurdle. A proposed rule that would change how the H-1B visas are allocated has cleared review by the White House's regulatory gatekeepers, the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs. Now, under the current system, the H-1B visas are distributed via a random lottery. But the new rule would scrap the luck of the draw approach. Instead, applications would reportedly get a weighted selection, giving priority to workers who meet certain criteria: higher wages, advanced education, and specialized skills. Federal regulators are expected to publish the proposed rule in the Federal Register soon, and that would kick off a formal public comment period, giving tech companies, advocacy groups, and potential visa applicants a chance to weigh in. The proposed weighted selection concept echoes a 2021 Trump administration plan. That earlier plan faced opposition and was withdrawn by the forthcoming Biden administration. It also saw related regulations blocked in federal court. But now, the Trump administration is renewing its immigration crackdown at a breakneck speed. In recent weeks, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance have made it clear that they will prioritize domestic workers over immigrants on H-1B. Indians make up the largest share of the H-1B visa holders. In 2022, Indian nationals secured 77% of the 320,000 approved H-1B visas, and in the fiscal year of 2023, this figure remained high at 72.3% of the 386,000 visas issued. Of over 1 million overseas students in the United States, over 331,000 came from India in 2023 to 24 academic year. The fresh job seekers will be likely worst hit by the proposed H-1B revision, and that's because the new H-1B criteria will reportedly prioritize high salary workers, and the entry-level salaries are often placed in the lower wage tiers. For an international student in the United States, from India or anywhere else, entering the American workforce on an H-1B visa could become a lot more cumbersome than it already is. Industry insiders have been watching this closely. Many argue that the yet-to-be notified rule could reward top-tier talent in the higher salary bracket, and critics, meanwhile, say it risks shutting out smaller companies and startups who rely on the lottery to compete while accessing incoming talent from overseas. It could also leave the lower-wage applicants scrambling. If implemented, the overhaul could fundamentally reshape the US tech labor market, shifting the balance toward highly paid, highly educated workers while reducing randomness in the visa lottery system. The visa lottery, as we know it, may be headed for a complete rewrite, and this remains a developing story, and we will keep you updated. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.
Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, with me, Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Here are the top 40 headlines of the